Some of the key attributes of business leaders who thrive during uncertain times, uncertain markets, the difficult economic times, is that they're really strong, thoughtful decision makers. They consider multiple points of view and could probably hold two opposite thoughts at the same time that both might be true and prepare for either one of them because the world is complex. So they have a capacity for dealing with ambiguity, a high capacity for dealing with ambiguity in the abstract, and thinking through what would I do if, again, contingency planning. The other thing is that they understand that while they're not in control of their emotions, and we all have fear, that they are in control of only three things. The three things are what I think about, what I say, and what I do. So all of us have a voice in our head that tells us we're not good enough or we might fail. We can all hear that voice. Those of us that get beyond that and be courageous to do what we would do despite our fear, what we do is we challenge the voice and say, well, that's not always true. It is all about affirming. For the best leaders in tough times, they affirm what they want, that they're capable, and they work hard. There's just no way around it. It's not an easy job. So those people that get through the really tough times and thrive have contingency planned. They have created good analytic models in their mind and practiced that. And they have, I'll call emotional regulation. They will not let fear consume them. They will not allow that to think. When they feel a negative emotion like fear, they understand it's chemistry. They'll get up and start moving because motion will change emotion. How do top business leaders prepare for worst case scenarios? Once again, the worst case scenario, there might be something even worse than what we can imagine. But what we do is we say, if this were to happen, as unlikely as it might seem to us today, what would we do? It always comes down to contingency planning, and planning is about thinking through what would you do. Again, one of the first things that everybody in business should do is make sure they have multiple sources of available cash so that they can go through it. Some business leaders during good times have been really smart to create pockets of extra cash they can access, like permanent type life insurance that build up cash value. They don't need to fill out an application to access that capital. So while they're building up something that's really good for retirement potentially, and some people hate them because they look like they're they're really expensive and they have a big commission associated with them. But quite frankly, they could be unbelievable sources of cash. I myself have accessed the cash value in my permanent life insurance policies multiple times for business reasons. During 2008, particularly when I was building one of my biggest companies that grew the fastest and I couldn't access any other capital, that was one of the things I did. So really good business leaders plan for worst case, including moderate case, middle case, somewhat bad case, and great times. Like, when should you put your pedal to the metal and invest like crazy and go? Again, it has to do with looking at all the tea leaves in the economy and deciding what you're going to do. Great leaders are thinkers. They are considering multiple points of view, and they are willing, because nobody will know whether the decision will work out. They are willing to take risks, and they're thinking, until I see this going wrong, I'm going to stick with it through perseverance and grit, and I'm going to make it work. So we can all engage our employees and be open, build trust with them so that they're not afraid, and we go tackle the toughest situations together. The best leaders in 2008 I know were really, really candid, forthright, and completely truthful with the people that needed to hear it. Their employees, their bankers, their investors, their customers. And then they went about creatively finding alternative ways of getting to where they needed to get to and surviving the storm. It takes a lot of creativity to get through tough times because it is problem solving. There's no one right way to solve it. There are a lot of bad solutions. There are a lot of bad decisions that one can make. But one of the best ones that people can do is to be straight up, truthful, candid, forthright with the people that need to know, because you need those people's trust. And everybody can tell when someone's not being forthright and they're hiding something. There's a huge difference between people who merely survive through tough times and those people who thrive during tough times. So an example would be Warren Buffett. He prepares for tough times. He's got his cash stack ready, and then he thrives and makes most of his investments that pan out for the biggest during tough times when people need the cash the most. There are people who find alternate sources of capital that they're going to be able to access, and they stash it and they make sure they have it through private investments or others. They're ready to go buy up their competitors during tough times because they can buy them low and grow. To just survive means you're battening down the hatches and you're waiting for the storm to pass. And what you're hoping is the storm doesn't last too long. That, on average, a typical recession might last between 6 months, would be really short, and a couple of years. Well, to merely survive isn't the same as thinking through what are the opportunities, because whenever there's tough times, there are opportunities. The really smart guys go buy other businesses and they invest in other businesses and they buy low. So the toughest economic times define brilliant business leaders because it's admirable to see somebody in crisis or in tough times who makes really great decisions and comes out of it way further ahead and thriving. It is, splitting the wheat from the chaff, as they say. It's tough times are where we find out how well someone has prepared to be a business leader, the quality of their decision making and their contingency planning. Great business leaders thrive during tough times, and they find a way because it's about creative problem solving. A lot of it has to do because they prepared for it. They're the person who just thinks good times are going to keep on rolling. They're like the inebriated person at a table at a casino thinking that, hey, the dice are going my way at the craps table. I'll never lose. Sooner or later, the seven's going to come up. You're going to lose everything on that table. So best to take some chips off, best to place them in other places and stockpile. So we can all admire brilliant business people who thrive during tough times because it's so admirable and it's rare. Most people forget to do this. They're already busy with so many things. They don't take the time. Beyond financial success, how do you want to be remembered as a leader getting through economic tough times?